Hello everyone, my name is 4AS and welcome to my channel. Now, we've all heard the Robin Hood story when growing up. After all, it's a tale for the ages. The brave rebel who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. But did you know that there is more to the story? Not about whether Robin Hood was real or not, but that the story reflected life in the 13th century. Whilst a lot of people know about the Magna Carta, one of the foundational documents of British history, not many people are aware of a similar charter, one that is linked to the Robin Hood story. That is, the Charter of the Forest. And in today's video essay, we'll discuss all about these origins. If you're new here, this is a series of video essays where I cover political, economic, and revolutionary topics which are relevant to our time. I read the books, so you don't have to. In a world where money rules the land, there is one critique that is left unspoken. Integrity leads to innovation. Innovation leads to inequity. Inequity leads to insanity. Join me as we explore the four eyes of capitalism. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing for more content in the future. So, let's jump right in. Now, you must have two burning questions. What is the Charter of the Forest? And how does this relate to Robin Hood? Well, for starters, the Charter of the Forest stems out of a revolutionary period in English history, one between the monarchy and the commoners. However, during the reign of King John, he was responsible for enclosing a significant portion of what was once common land to the people. Above all, in the wake of protracted civil strikes and the misdeeds of one of the most detested monarchs of British history, King John, the Charter stood against the usurpation of the commons by elites and the state, which had been all too widespread and capricious in the 12th century and early part of the 13th century. In 1086, the Domesday Book recorded 25 royal forests. By 1215, there were 143. As successive kings encroached on common land to increase their revenue, for example, from the sale of timber, as well as their hunting space. Let's take the Disney fable version of Robin Hood's story as an example. When Prince John is riding around the counties in his horse and carriage with his advisor, he is constantly collecting taxes from the commoners. Obviously, I'm not saying anything profound by saying the king would have taxed his subjects. What is clever in the legend is the double meaning of this taxing of the people. Back in the 12th and 13th century, the forest wasn't just the great outdoors with trees and bushes. The forest referred to the common land. Let's take the Charter of the Forest itself. Every freeman, from henceforth, without danger, shall make in his wood, or on his land, or on his water, which he has within our forest, mills, springs, pools, mulpits, dikes, or arable ground, without enclosing that arable ground, so that it be not to the annoyance of any of his neighbours. As Article 12 of the Charter points out, the forest isn't just woodlands, but area to do farming, graze cattle, collect water, activities that all the commoners needed to subsist in Britain. So when Prince John is riding around and taxing the people, he is symbolically taking away the commoners' public wealth by enclosing land that was for common use. On the other hand, the Charter of the Forest was again a metaphor that plays out in Robin Hood's schemes during any iteration of the legend. When Robin Hood dresses up like a gypsy and pretends to tell Prince John's fortune, Whilst, of course, Little John is stealing all the gold from the royal carriage, this is the charter re-establishing the public wealth of the commoners. The undoing of the enclosures to steal back the wealth of the rich to give to the commoners. The commons belongs to the commoners, traditionally a group defined by custom, but often in modern times the general public. They may use it, but are subject to known rules and procedures. They cannot do with it whatever they want. Our enduring legacy of the Charter of the Forest is that it set conditions for collective action and governance of the commons alongside a commitment to preserve them. This is the reason why the Sheriff of Nottingham is treated with disdain in the legend. For any outsider looking in would simply think, well, the sheriff is just doing his job, taxing the commoners. But again, there is history behind this depiction. What the Charter also enshrined is the system of law governing the commons. No swan's mote from henceforth shall be kept within this our realm, but thrice in the year, namely the beginning of the 15 days afore Michaelmas, when that our geese takers or walkers of our woods come together to take a geesement in our Demoness woods, and about the feast of Saint Martin in the winter, when that our geese takers shall receive our pawnage, and to these two swannomotes shall come together our foresters, verdeers, geese takers, and none other by distress. And the third swannomote shall be kept in the beginning of the 15 days before the feast of Saint John Baptist, when our geese takers do meet to hunt our deer. And at this swannomote shall meet our foresters, verdeers, and none other by distress. There's some dated terminology here, so bear with me. Swannomote was a court system, which meant at certain times during the year to hear disputes between commoners that was adjudicated by court officials, the officials being the verdeers. Guy Standing goes into great detail in his book about the right to ageasement, being the right to graze cattle. Pawnage refers to the right to acorn, chestnut, and beechnut pastures for pigs to eat, and the right of eastover when the commoners can collect firewood, wood, bracken, and heather for their right to subsist on the land. So when Maid Marian, the poor villagers from the town of Nottingham, join Robin Hood and his band of merry men in Sherwood Forest, well, yes, you guessed it, this is a metaphor for the harmony of the commoners being able to live off the land. Every freeman may agease his own wood within our forest at his pleasure, and shall take his pawnage. Also, we do grant that every freeman may drive his swine freely without impediment through our Demoness woods, for to agease them in their own woods, or else where they will. And if the swine of any freeman lie one night within our forest, there shall be no occasion taken thereof, whereby he may lose anything of his own. Again, the use of the Sheriff of Nottingham to represent the greed of the monarchs is very explicit here. The Charter of the Forest shows that there are clear rights, a system of dispute resolution, and they even bar an official like the sheriff in meddling in the affairs of commoners in the forest. No constable, chatelain, or bailiff shall hold plea of forest, neither for greenhew nor hunting. But every forester in fee shall make attachment for pleas of the forest, as well for greenhew as hunting, and shall present them to the verdeers of the provinces, And when they be enrolled and enclosed under the seals of the Viziers, they shall be presented to our chief justices of our forest, when they shall come into those parts to hold the pleas of the forest, and before them they shall be determined. Now, keep the Viziers and chief justices in mind here. What's so interesting about the Charter is that the forest was its own autonomous jurisdiction. It may seem like Article 16 is an anomaly within the Charter, but the customs in the forest actively decreed more humane punishment compared to its counterparts under the law of the king. Henceforth, no man shall lose his life or suffer the amputation of any of his limbs for killing our deer. If any man is convicted of killing our deer, he shall pay a grievous fine, but if he is poor and has nothing to lose, he shall be imprisoned for a year and a day. After the year and a day expired, if he can find people to vouch for him, he shall be released. If not, he shall be banished. Dare I say it, the story of Robin Hood is about a class struggle. The forest was about not chopping off a hand in order to render a family's livelihood forfeit in one fell swoop. Robin Hood was not the poor stealing from the rich, but the commoners reclaiming land and public wealth back from those nobles and kings that wish to claim wealth for themselves. If you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe for more content in the future. And remember, folks, to keep thinking and keep learning. Goodbye till next time.